Hello and welcome into the Lone Star Varsity Postgame Show. Week 8 is in the books. This show is brought to you by the University Medical Center and powered by AJ Media. And I'm Mike Graham.
And I'm Bryan, and we're with the Lone Star Varsity High School sports staff. Some pretty good games this week to kind of discuss.
I think we had the signature matchup that we thought was going to be a very important game in the District 4-5A race, a very important game for the Lubbock community. And it was a tight game for a little while, but Coronado just kept on keeping on. The 51-22 win against arch rival Monterey in a battle of unbeatens in the district.
It was, at the beginning, it was really close, and Monterey was able to get on the board first, 7-0, and then Coronado ran into a bit of an obstacle in its kicking game and was trailing 7-6 after the first quarter, and you kind of just thought these teams were going to come back out and start trading blows. Coronado just goes off offensively. Devin Morrison went for 263 yards tonight, and he just came up big for him. And as soon as they got hot, stayed hot. Kind of a Coronado team we've seen in the past where they're able to come out and, score fast and often.
This is big. I think that Monterey is probably one of the top half teams in the district, and Coronado just kind of got by them, and it was kind of easy, like you said, through the second, third, and fourth quarters. Do you think that this is obviously after tonight, they're the only unbeaten remaining team in the district, but do you think that they're going to walk with this district championship based on their body of work in this game?
I think they have the potential to. I think if they can continue to play the way they did tonight, they'll also see pretty far push into the playoffs. So one thing I was really impressed with on both sides is their defense, which we were talking about a little bit in the pregame show. But Bryan Young, there were plenty of occasions where he had to get out of the pocket, and he had to make things up with his legs. And same with Quay. Quay was on the run a little bit there towards the end. But whenever you have the big playability of the Mustangs just clicking, the night just goes that much better for them.
Exactly. And, Bryan Young, heart and soul of kind of the Monterey team. Tell me about his running ability. Did he get any support tonight? Because I think that was one of the things we were looking at, that maybe Lawson Young was having to do too much of the running duty on his own. Did he get some support tonight? Yes, he did get some support from, I believe his last name is Lacey, and I think they were rotating in two players, and they were able to get some yardage, some hard yardage on some downs, but you could just kind of tell that Monterey wanted to get its pass game in a spot where they could come out and, do what Coronado was doing, counterpart. Mm-hmm. And actually, Bryan Young, they went deep quite a bit. Trey Manahan, Xavier White, very impressive players, but just a couple yards here and there, and they could have come away with more touchdowns. As far as him running the ball, it wasn't, straightforward. It was kind of just on the pocket, extending a play a little bit here and there, but Coronado's defensive line is really impressive. Miguel Garcia, he was getting in the mix. There was a lot of instances where he was getting the tackles himself. You heard the names Garcia and Stevens quite a bit, throughout the game. I'm sure. And, just three more questions about this game. And first, let's talk about Coronado's receiving corps, because it sounds like that they went off, and really that's what kind of buried Monterey tonight.
Yeah, it was funny. I was talking with Parr afterwards, and he was talking about how Devin Morrison was a bit of a secret weapon. Not no more, obviously, but he was saying that he was some sort of a secret weapon coming into this one because everybody was looking at Blair Conwright. And then, we talked about a little bit of depth there. They were able to get the ball, to several of their players tonight, and with an arm like Quay Gray's, that's big. That helps a lot offensively.
Question number 2 is, we've talked a lot about Coronado's defense, and we've talked a lot about Monterey's front and how that might be one of the better ones in this neck of the woods in 5A. You got to see them kind of head-to-head in succession over the course of a night. Does Monterey's defense really stack up with Coronado's, particularly as it pertains to the front?
I think so. I think they have some people that, some big bodies up there that can do some work. But when it came to Coronado, it was those big plays that were going, extended yardage that was really giving them the advantage. Caleb Manuel is a very hard runner. And Coronado's offensive line was able to create some holes for him to be successful tonight too. We saw Gerard Compton come in for a series, and I think he picked up 12 yards total, but still he looked like he's getting healthier, and he was just bulldozing into the end zone.
And then finally, how was the crowd? You know, kind of a cool night. It's the eve of Texas Tech's homecoming. A lot of things are going on. The Heisman Trophy was at this game at Lowry Field. So what was the environment like?
Electric. You know, everybody was excited. Everybody had their own set of, T-shirts that they were handing out, and, on both ends. It was a lot of fun. A lot of people were kind of flocking to the Heisman here and there to get a picture with it. It made its way around, and both sides were kind of there at the beginning of the game. There was almost not a seat taken. So it was just a lot of fun. It's fun to be around those kind of games.
And then I believe we have audio from Coach Parr as well, and then we'll head off after that to the next game.
Just a lot of character, bouncing back. Both teams were really excited to play, and they jumped out on us, but I thought we did a good job of answering. Our defense settled down, started playing the kind of football that they can play, and our offense is starting to get a little bit more rhythm and timing, so it's getting better and better each week.
Well, Bryan, here's one of the games that we split on. It was Lubbock Cooper visiting Abilene Cooper, and Abilene won this one pretty handedly to bump up to 1-1 in the District 4-5A standings, whereas Lubbock Cooper fell to 1-1. A 45-14 win for the Cougars tonight. And, it looked like just everything that went wrong for the Cougars in their game against Monterey last week. It was totally different tonight. Kind of pinned Lubbock Cooper on its back early. Lubbock Cooper at one point was driving to make it a 28-21 game in the second quarter, turned the ball over, and really never got any closer than that once going down by 14 points.
You kind of called it heading into it that if Abilene Cooper was going to win this one, they were going to do it by a wide margin because offensively they're very sound and they go out there and score touchdowns. So I'll eat crow on that one.
But exactly. We talked about how if it was a fast-paced, high-flying game, that Abilene Cooper would win, and that if it was a tight game and possessions were limited, Lubbock Cooper would probably win. But let's just talk about where the Pirates go from here, because Coronado and Monterey are still out there for them. Do you think that this is a bad sign, considering Monterey and Coronado kind of have the same offense and same caliber of players at certain positions?
I think that might be true, but also they've seen a team like that now after playing Abilene, so you get to make the adjustments. Now you get to kind of go back to the chalkboard and say, okay, so this is what we need to get fixed. Here's what happened. Here's why. So I think it's beneficial for them to have seen Abilene, and I think they're still going to be competitive in this district. I don't think you can let up between any of those four teams.
Right, there are four teams now that are 1-1 in the district, so it's going to be a fight the rest of the way. Lubbock High obviously got a big win against San Angelo Lakeview. That was the other game going on. San Angelo Lakeview fell to 0-2. Probably in some trouble, but that doesn't really surprise us. And that's kind of where District 4-5A is right now. We wish we had video highlights for you of that game, but unfortunately it was played in Abilene. So we will be getting the Pirates back in town next week.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
All right, the next game was my game, Lubbock Christian and Munster Sacred Heart. And it was a big game in the TEPS Division III District 1 race, just like it had been last year. And it's the Eagles coming out on top, 27-14, but it was a tense game. I believe that within inside the final 8 minutes, just a 6-point game, and Alex Timmons kind of had to lead the Eagles down the field, and it was impressive to watch because he had been injured earlier in the game. He came back in, and on this touchdown drive that the Eagles had, they had to convert 2 third mediums, and they went to the air to convert them, and they got them, and they ended up scoring another touchdown. Hunter Pinatello ices the game, breaks 100 yards on the way with a 45-yard touchdown run.
Oh, yeah, we knew that they had big playability and athletes everywhere. I expected this one to be close. I kind of expected Lubbock Christian to come out and seal it up there at the end. So, when I was kind of going through your story, I was like, yeah, that's kind of how I foresaw this going. And it was obviously a good game to the end.
What really surprised me about this game is just whenever you think TAPS, I think that everyone just thinks offense and high flying, mm-hmm. and people just running at each other. And with this game, it seemed defensive for the first half. Two teams, I think that Lubbock Christian, you could say that like they're the pillar of balance. That like no one is more balanced than Lubbock Christian. But Sacred Heart loved to run the ball, and against Lubbock Christian's front, it just wasn't doing tonight.
Yeah, but they have an all-state defensive end in Caddison Rogers, and then Pinciniello himself is an all-state returner. So they have some big, for not having the pool that maybe some of these other schools have. They still have some big kids, and I think when it comes to Lubbock Christian, a big part of being successful and doing what they do defensively is just discipline. I've been to their practices and some of the stuff that they run through. It'll get you there.
Yeah, Munster's a haul. I'm sure that Sacred Heart is still on its way back home right now. That's a 283-mile trip one way, and it's going to be Lubbock Christian doing that next week as they go to Fort Worth Country Lake for their next game, and as the final remaining unbeaten team in District 1 of TEPS 3A Division 3. So nice job for the Eagles. And then we just wanted to go back and reflect on last night's game. Estacado 44, Littlefield 19. We talked about this. I think we were unanimous that Estacado would win this game, but it's pretty tight through the first quarter. It was only 10-7.
I think Levelland even led at one point. Chris Gerber, I wasn't able to attend, but I was on Twitter, and it seemed his name was kind of flooding my feed there a little bit.
Yeah, and sorry, that score was 13-10 at halftime, and Chris Gerber had thrown a touchdown, and Estacado had to battle back in this game. But they effectively did that. They really got after them on both sides of the ball, and really it was just an offensive explosion. Kamadrick, Williams, and Jeremiah Dobbins didn't really have great first halves. I think Kamadrick jumped from like 39 yards at halftime to 190, which is pretty much average for him, an average night. He got back to his average night, and Dobbins scores 3 touchdowns towards 79 hard yards in that game.
The one thing that I wanted to ask you about this game is, what do you think of Levelland's defense? And seeing what Estacado's done to some teams, it seemed like they just played really well that night.
Right. It's kind of hard as high school sports reporters to watch the defense because you have to be very aware of where the ball is moving. But I thought that their front stood up well and kind of what happens when you face a run-oriented team kind of happened to them. They got hit, and eventually you get tired and worn out. And Levelland has a lot of two-way players, including Chris Gerber, who was playing at cornerback, and starting running back was a linebacker. So, they have to take care of their business on both sides of the ball, and hopefully everyone remains healthy. But we do know that they're going to the playoffs as part of a 4-team district, and they were very competitive. I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't lose another district game.
With what they graduated from last year and what they brought, and with a new coach in the system, I still think that Levelland is having a really good season, despite that record. So I could see them potentially getting past that first round and making a push.
Absolutely. I really like their team. I thought that Zach Estrada was awesome up top. Yeah. I really like him, and Gerber, obviously, he makes you stay on your toes at all times as a defense. And with those games out of the way, we just want to go over some of the scores, just tell you the scores that happened tonight, and maybe add a comment if we feel it's appropriate.
Okay, first one I think is New Deal 21, Floydada 0. The Lions get another shutout win. They recorded one earlier this year. But the more interesting thing to me when I look at this score is them kind of being limited to 21 points. I think they averaged more than that, or they came into this one averaging more than that. And then Floydada last week beat Hill Center. So this district in itself is going to be tough, or it's been proven tough.
And crash course, because Abernathy and New Deal are unbeaten in District 2 2A Division 1. And it was a great game last year, decided by 1 point for the district championship. And obviously everyone knows that Abernathy ultimately reached the state semifinals. Yeah,
and Tahoka got a win against Robbie tonight, 12-6. Sands, I believe this game was over at the half. Blew out Loop 48-0. Memphis over Lockney 60-14.
Everyone knows. Everyone's talking about how Memphis is a really good team this year.
Yeah, and let's see, Coahoma, they edged Idalou 19-18. Idalou beat Denver City before they head into district, but just can't seem to kind of find that rhythm that they found last week before district started. Shallowater 49-14 over Stanton. Still, I'm still blown away with the Mustangs and what they've been able to accomplish this year.
Yeah, they've got a great body of work, and I'd say that they're probably a playoff lock with one more win.
Yes. And,
which we think they'll get.
Definitely. Seminole beat Lamesa 38-6. Right now, I believe they're sitting as another team that's undefeated in district.
Absolutely.
And
probably maybe 4A Division II's best West Texas district.
Yeah, it actually is with Monahans. I think it is Monahans, Sweetwater. Those are very competitive teams.
Absolutely.
And I think that'll kind of do it for tonight.
Yeah.
So we can get some rest and we'll catch you on the podcast.
Yeah, we're going to get some sleep and we'll come back and kind of expand on the games that we talked about, throw in some new ones, change it up. It should be a lot of fun. It'll be available on LoneStarVarsity.com this weekend. And our recaps are up right now. You can go ahead and check them out. And once again, the website's name is LoneStarVarsity.com. We want to thank the University Medical Center for helping us put this show together. I want to thank the guys. There are 3 guys here with AJ Media working to get us on camera, and we really appreciate that. We've had a really good week, and we can't wait to see you in Week 9.